Pray yet.
I'm going to pray right now, fool. Shut up. Let's go to the Lord and then we'll go.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for Paul and we thank you for Rachel, Father. We thank you for this time that you give us together. Father, we ask that you use these moments and you save souls. Father, you open ears for those that need to hear it. Father, bring these souls to you and bring them to recovery. Father, we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Let's go to work.
Ooh.
Came in a little hot, Rob. A little hot. Why don't you just wait till the music stops and take a big fucking drink, you idiot? God,
that's what I was going to do, but...
You're such an ass.
No, I was just looking at Paul, talking on the side, going to have a drink, and said, watch this, Paul.
Hi, Rob.
How you doing, Larry?
I am well.
Did you have a good week, brother? Busy?
Busy. Phoenix, Yuma, Imperial, back to Yuma, back to Phoenix.
I can hear it in your voice when you...
I was beat.
We have Dr. Rachel here. When you have Rachel, when you sponsor a man, Paul knows this, you get to know that person, and when you just look at him and know that that's a long week.
It was.
So I brought you some methamphetamines if you need it.
Can I?
Just let you
Let's
know that's how much
chop that shit up. No. I'm going to tell you right now, but come Friday, I was like, no, I'm kidding. It's just, they're long drawn out, right? I mean, and then it's 114 degrees and the humidity and oh my gosh, I did not realize that Phoenix had humidity like it did.
I didn't know that it did. I thought it was all dry.
No, I thought the same thing, but I'm going to tell you right now, and Yuma got super humid, and then when I went into Imperial, it wasn't so bad, and then when I got back up to Phoenix the night before I flew home, brutal. I went out to dinner with one of my suppliers, and it was just brutal.
What'd you have?
I had some kind of pasta. It was an Italian restaurant. Why are you asking me to remember something?
I enjoy food, man.
Good grief. I was so tired, I was lucky to be eating. Okay,
I'll tell you why. I love food, one. Two, when I went through cancer, the last half of 2020, it took me about a good 2-3 years for I could really eat and swallow. So I enjoy food now that I can eat anything I want. So I enjoy hearing what you have.
do enjoy food. It was a spicy vodka pasta. I had vodka in my pasta.
Okay.
Do I need to start my clock over again?
No. Did you eat the pasta to get drunk, or did you?
Buddy, I'd had to eat a lot of pasta.
Yeah. You're good.
Good. We got Paul back. Welcome, Paul.
Good to be here.
And we got I can honestly say Dr. Rachel now. Congratulations.
So thank you.
Does your dad call you doctor yet?
My family has been really excited to call me that for a while. And, before I graduated, it was like funny and fun. And now it's like, oh no, it's real. This is weird.
It was funny when I asked you about your social media the other day, because I wanted to start promoting you. And you're like, well, I don't have a professional one. I'm like, you need to get that one, girl. Yeah.
Seriously.
You do. Because there's so much, especially with this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. When we're starting to promote you, you're starting to build your career, right? There is just certain things that people, I don't know. Paul, you got an opinion on that for somebody doing, do you have a professional one, or do you just have a personal, on your Facebook, or do you not follow that? Are you not on any kind of social media?
Yeah, I am. I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay. LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do have a professional one. Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
And Rachel, you need to get on LinkedIn.
I do have a LinkedIn.
You do?
Yeah.
So I have a LinkedIn that is extremely professional. I've never even put our podcast on that one. So
I just, with social media and working in mental health, I try and be very careful. I don't. My last name is not even on my name tag.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Afraid they're going to hunt you down?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, hey,
my home address is listed on the nursing board as my work address.
Okay.
I don't want anybody finding me.
I'm Gen Z, so I've had social media since I was in 6th grade. So I really don't want my patients to find me.
You had MySpace. Did you?
Well, so I mainly had Facebook, but I used MySpace if I wanted to post cuss words without my mom seeing it. That's how young I was when I got social media. So.
My daughter had a MySpace. She posted herself in a bikini when she was 14 years old, and I slapped the turned right out of her and made her rip it down.
So what's MySpace?
It was before Facebook. It was something that was before Facebook. Basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It was that 2008, 2005 era with the kids when social media really got started on MySpace.
Really?
And then, it's where it really got started at.
Rob, you should remember that. You were probably drinking.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
It's where they went to find dates and everything else.
Yeah, that's right. That's right at the end of my the highlights.
That is funny. So we got a couple professionals in here, and we're going to talk about some topics. And I've been I went out to our listeners to try and get some topics. And honestly, I was very shocked we didn't get anything back. Maybe our listeners are too wrapped up in their own mental health. They didn't know what question to ask. Or maybe they're all perfect. We've gotten them perfect over the years.
All that step work is
all that step work we've been doing. So, but I do have a few questions that I wanted to bring up and talk about some stuff. I mean, Laurel, she's obviously staying with me, and because that's my cousin, and she was on and I'm going to throw Rob under the bus here in a minute, but she was staying with me during Thanksgiving, and she battled with mental health as I have. And I mean, her story's very well on, episode, I want to say it's around 25, right around there, 20, something like that. And Rob, we recorded her, and it's one of Rob's favorite ones because we had never done anything except sober stuff. And this was the first one that we got that wasn't a sober one. And Rob was a little taken back by it.
Well, her father was, it's on the podcast, her father was alcoholic. So in high school at 17 years old, she did a paper and went and studied and on alcoholism to figure more about it. I was impressed with that and then took off.
Yeah, the whole part about her writing, I was just trying to find it on what it doesn't matter. But yeah, I want to say she was right around 11, 12, something like that. Anyways, go listen to all of them. You'll find her sooner or later. But she brought up, and she hears Rob say this quite a bit. So
this is under the bus I go.
This is under the bus Rob goes. Because I asked her when she was here.
Walk under the bus.
There you go. Right? You'll never be touched.
Yeah.
And she says, "You know what, Larry? I got a question. Rob always says he never has a bad day, and he just has
hard days.
He just has hard days,
and some days.
And she goes, maybe he doesn't suffer from the depression that we do, right? Maybe he doesn't have that. He doesn't understand what having a bad day is." So I got a lady by the name of Natasha. She works she is with the World Health Organization. She's actually in Yemen, and she messages me every once in a while on Facebook back and forth. And I sent that question to her, and, because I wanted her to get her part of it as well. And she was saying that basically Rob doesn't suffer from depression. He has some sad days, but he's never suffered from depression. And
could it be just semantics?
I don't think so. That's why
the way I choose to.
I don't know, because honestly, the way you say it, and no disrespect, because she loves you.
Which is funny because I used this on Friday. A gentleman I sponsor, lost his job, and I'm not going to give all the circumstances anyway. He lost it, so he lost his job. He's like, "Rob, it's a bad day," and I was like, "Well, and he knows how I said no. Let me tell you what I know. It's a hard day, but and here's my thinking. I've never had a bad day in sobriety, but I'll tell you, I've had some hard days. And I was telling this gentleman to try to put things in perspective in life because he's not been through a lot, younger man. I said, you'll sit down for 8 hours with a port in your side, getting 8 hours of chemotherapy with a son in sophomore in high school and a daughter senior in high school. You don't know if you're going to live, and you're fighting for it. That's a hard day, not a bad day. I know people that have had, that have been in worse spots, but that's a hard day. That's how I keep things into perspective and don't get down on myself and don't get into a dark spot. That's how I have to tell myself. That's a hard day. That's just my opinion.
And I think what Laurel is, and I think where Laurel
but
is.
I've never suffered from what you got. I mean, I would know. I would believe I'd know if I had depression. I've had anxiety a lot.
Right. And I think that's where Laurel was going is she's saying, and I want to go, obviously I want to open this up to the professionals, but she is basically saying, it's almost like you're downplaying, people with depression when you say,
I am. No.
I because what she's saying is we have hard days. I mean, there's some days I'm going to tell you right now, I still struggle.
Yeah.
Right. I struggle. And do I call it a hard day? I don't know if I'd call it a hard day, but I struggle to keep my face to me, right? Mm-hmm. Because I literally just want to crawl back in bed and shut the world off, right? Those are hard days, but thank God I have tools to work through those.
And thank God the sun got up that you got that day to fight.
Yeah. So what say you, Paul?
Well, I think there definitely is a difference between. Not everybody suffers depression. I mean, there are statistics around that tell you about,
And you gave them to us too.
About less than 5% serious mental illness, less than 5%. But they say that about 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people has some sort of mental health issue, right? And I would say most of that, and this is what we see in the field, is anxiety and depression. Some of that, there are disorders that are listed in what's called the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, and there's criteria, and you can read the criteria to see whether or not you suffer from it. I never knew this until I was in school, and I was going. I always knew I wanted to work in mental health, and when I cracked that book and started looking at it and looking at the criteria, okay, I was alarmed. I was like, this has been most of my life. I've had these things happen. Okay. And then we got into personality disorders. The teacher said, everybody's got a little bit of everything of that, but don't worry about that. But the point being is that, if you want to know, it's just like if you have diabetes, there's diagnostic criteria to let you know kind of what stages they are. There are many different forms of depression can manifest in many different ways. But there are even within the DSM, there are subcategories of depression. There's a lot of them. Okay.
Yeah. What I'm kind of hearing is, I don't know, as a psychologist, basically now.
Not basically.
Not basically. You are, girl.
Coming from we have all these different therapies that we do based on different theories, and coming from a cognitive behavioral therapy perspective, when you're working with somebody from that perspective, it's all about changing your perspective to change your feelings and your behavior. So what I'm hearing
isn't that what I'm doing?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is you're really cognitive reframing that perspective in a way that makes it so that you don't feel depressed. You say these are hard days versus bad days. And given your experience with cancer and the existential stuff that comes with that, it totally makes sense to me that for you, the days probably feel precious, and it's hard to call them
and sobriety
bad versus good.
And sobriety and the steps did that more than the cancer did. I said that just to help somebody, because that's a hard day, and then people can realize, even if they haven't gone through cancer, that's a hard day because cancer's touched everybody. Which some alcoholism and drug addiction has touched a lot of families too. But it really changed getting sober, going through the steps and realizing, man, I'm just lucky to be here. I should not be here after but praise God I am. And I do that, reframe it, because I don't want to let myself.
Yeah.
And it helps me be in a state of gratitude. Yeah. Because I can easily go to why, because there's two words I never want to say, Rachel. Why me? Mm-hmm. Never. Yeah. And that helps me not to say why me.
Yeah. And it sounds like that reframing really helps you. But reframing, coming from the cognitive behavioral kind of theoretical orientation, reframing is kind of the challenge that pops up for folks with depression. They're having this self-talk and these thoughts in their head that contribute to the depression. And so then when they would enter therapy, if they were doing CBT, it would help them reframe things. And perhaps for some people, saying it's a hard day, that maybe wouldn't make them feel better. But it sounds like for you, it does. And CBT would kind of work with the person who's depressed and help them come up with ways to reframe their thoughts that are more realistic and more helpful.
I got you.
CBT. What is that?
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 12 Steps of Alcoholics Anonymous is a form of that.
Okay.
There are different components that you'll not get in therapy.
Okay.
That are in the 12 steps, but at the end of it, I mean, when you work through the steps, it does change. You're out. your whole outlook on life will change, right? The promises tell us that. And that is something that's very important, that a lot of folks that get into recovery that suffer depression or just, even severe substance use disorder, they don't really know what to do to change, to find that answer, that solution. And that's why this hits home so well for so many people in recovery, is because we're talking to them on their level. We're not a therapist or a counselor. I want to just bring some data into this real quick, but
I love it. We're getting professional.
Before coming to AA, 59% of the members received some type of counseling or therapy. 74% said it played an important part in directing them to AA. So 74% of those 59%. And after 58% of the members received, they continued to seek that. I myself sought professional help after I got. Actually, I was court ordered initially to seek help. And
those are my favorite patients.
You know what happens when that happens? It was not a good situation. But afterwards, I sought out that professional help because I came to realize, and it was probably through going to school and realizing that I did meet those criteria. But I want to point out one more thing, and there are two different. I don't want to say different schools of thought. There are different schools of thought on mental illness, mental health. One is called the social model, and one is the medical model. The medical model talks about brain chemistry, and it talks about neurotransmitters, things like that. And what's funny about this is there's no hard science that those neurotransmitters, the medications, all they know is they know the mechanisms of action for those neurotransmitters in your brain. And they also know that if they target those things with medications that either, change the levels in this or that the mood changes. And I'm telling you, I'm one of those people that need that help with the neurotransmitters. Because if I don't take the medication that I'm supposed to take, I die.
Yep.
Isn't that something?
Same as me.
So they know what it does. They don't know exactly how it does it, but they know that it does it.
They have a theory of how it does it, and it's probably correct, is what I'm saying. But they can't. You can't go in there, and they're getting there. You can't go in there and really study it like you can other parts of medicine. You can't go in there and say, because live human subjects, you're not going to go in their brain and start looking at the these things are.
The brain is honestly just such a mystery to us still. Like, we have bits and pieces here, but we have completely yet to put the puzzle all together.
Rob, the theory of when you drink too much, right, and then you do cocaine and you kind of level out. That's what Paul's trying to tell you.
That's what they're trying to find. Without the cocaine, and it was until someone took away one leg of my stool that I lost all balance. Yeah. I'd still be well balanced, I think. Rachel said something before in comments, Paul. You said, "I love those patients." The court-ordered ones. Why do you love the court-ordered patients?
Because they are usually very grumpy to be there.
You like that?
You like that?
Oh, she likes a challenge. You would love him. He's an asshole.
I love a challenge. I feel like I'm a very obnoxious, extroverted person. And usually the court-ordered one, especially because I work with veterans, so a lot of them are like these grumpy, tough guys.
You mentioned that on your podcast before, right? So you enjoy that.
We talk quite a bit about the veteran, which I appreciate being a veteran.
Right.
And I've been to some, I could go to the VA, and I went once to, decide they tried, but I was like, no, I can't do this because I have my own doctor. It's depressing, heartbreaking that men and women who've served get, so I'm grateful for you to go.
What did you say? It's what?
It's what? Heartbreaking.
No, you said
I heard it.
Oh, depressing. What a seat. It's pretty depressing. So that's where it's coming from.
Right. So I want to hear more detail why you like working with why you like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the contrast in personality. Like, I don't see myself as a very tough person.
Right.
I think I'm pretty warm and fuzzy. So I really enjoy cracking the egg, so to say, and teaching these tough
progress.
men.
You see progress quicker.
Yeah, and I like to teach these tough men it's okay to cry.
Right. Don't. I'll start crying.
There's
don't
something,
take much for me.
There's something really fun about like pulling up a feelings wheel and being like, which of these emotions do you feel?
And you find
like,
that we only have,
I don't know.
We can only probably name 2 and express 1.
Right. So I think I'm a pretty like emotional sensitive person. And so that's kind of where my strength is. So I like working with the people that I think benefit from getting more in touch with their emotions.
Okay.
And
Yeah, well, you're in the right field.
Right. So, okay, that is one subject that I wanted to go on. The other one is I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I'm going to
I forgive my mom. I don't have a relationship with either one, but I forgive her completely. I am older than she was when this was happening. And so I struggle to take care of my dog. So I can't imagine what it was like for her being an uneducated woman, born to a poor family, out in the world trying to compete and be a normal person while you have a mobster as a husband. So I don't hold any resent or anger towards her. I'm hurt, and that's about it. But with my dad, it's a struggle because I feel like if I ever saw him in public, I don't know how I would hold back. Because I'm a man now, and I carry myself. And I'm very scared of it. It's a feeling I'm very afraid of.
You know, that little boy couldn't help himself.
Yeah, but that boy is stuck inside. And I see him to people. I'm the thing that came up to protect him, but I grew up into boy.
So what you said, I'm sorry, I don't know why they didn't come through, but I wasn't going to stop it. One of the things that we've talked about in the rooms, and I think and he said it a little bit, I'm not that little boy inside, right? Because they always say that our maturity level stops at the age that we start drinking. And that's always, it hit home for me the first time I heard it, because I'm like, and it really did. When I start taking back on my thought processes and how I act and how I work, our maturity level, right? And I start winding that stuff back, and I realize that I didn't, and I've said this a few times, and I've said it to my wife, and I've said it, she knows that, and I've had to explain it to her a little bit, that I didn't learn how to love until I got sober. Damn it. I didn't know how to react.
Do you love your wife?
Oh, shut up. You're a dick. I can't even look at him. I didn't learn how to love until I got sober. I didn't learn certain things. And the further out of my sobriety that I go, the more intense that I get and fall in love with her. The more intense I feel, the more intense I fall in love with my friends, and how much closer I feel with
your
them.
wife said that we were talking.
Motherfucker, I swear to God, I'm going to stab you right in the neck.
She said,
but he does love you, Rob.
I know. But Paul, this is what she said. She was sitting right here. She said one of the greatest things she saw with him, what we did for him, she's never heard him tell so many men and mean it that he loves them.
Yeah.
The group of men that we have
formed. Yeah. And it's different. It's just completely different.
Emotions help you out. Emotions help you recover.
Is that just
but you're so right. They do.
It is.
But we bury them. We drink them because we were told all our lives that men behave this way.
Right.
Men in my generation, my dad was born in the 40s or 1940. You don't cry. You keep it. A man carries himself this way. That's what a man is. And I had 4 rules that my dad had to be a man. And here they were, Paul. A man is only as good as his word. If a man's word is no good, man is no good, son. 2, if you want to have good friends, be one. Rule number 3, never raise your hand to a female. And rule number 4, learn how to use these. If you want to make your money with your mind, like you are, he goes, that's great. But if you know how to use these, son, you'll never go hungry.
Right.
And that's it.
And
don't cry and don't show emotion.
Why does the alcohol
that would work out?
Right. Yeah. So why does the alcohol and drugs and everything stop the flow of the learning process and stop that maturity level? Why does it do that?
It's just this is my opinion.
Okay.
This is not anything professional. Is that growing up in whatever environment, there's nature and nurture, right?
Right.
Nurture is what Rob just described as what he was taught.
Right.
Okay. There's a reason why we gravitate toward those things, and partly because we love how it feels. We love how it makes us feel. And if we're not accustomed to feeling good in the environment that we've grown up in, and you all of a sudden can find a very quick magical silver bullet fix and feel great. Well, you stop engaging in things that, like, there are different stages of development in life. Okay. Right. Those stages of development, I watched my friends graduate high school, go to college. Not me. I pursued a life of crime.
Right.
I mean, and to me, and then you don't learn the coping skills. You never really develop into learning how to be a responsible person, or a responsible adult. Everything is centered around me.
Right.
What can I do to gratify myself, to make myself feel better? And it's a pursuit of things that are just really empty. Right. I mean, they feel good at the moment, but you go on doing that long enough, and just like, our tolerance builds to everything. Right. You just never learn the coping skills that it takes to become an adult.
Right.
Yeah. And then on top of that, when you're under the influence, obviously your brain is being impacted. When you're drunk or when you're high, you don't remember things.
Right. And it's still developing when most of us start.
Absolutely. And so when you can't remember things, memory is learning. We learn with our memory. So you're not taking things in the same way.
Right.
And I can identify with Paul, not living life on life's terms, hiding from the hard parts and just staying in the soft, comfortable areas.
But we develop. So I think the part that I had such a hard time with that is I developed to a very, I feel, in my opinion, as I was a very professional, making money, functioning, at a very high level, educationally wise, mental wise. I mean, I was running a very large company at that level.
What does our big book say?
I don't know. That's what we're talking about.
It says that it talks about willpower, right?
Right.
And our will is strong in almost every other area of our lives. Highly successful, highly driven, except for where alcohol comes in. Where our have absolutely none whatsoever.
We're behaving in a way that we think society expects us to behave. And I'm not saying, understand that when we talk about the theory of progression, emotional and progression stopping at the time it's not a hard and fast line.
Right.
There are degrees, and they are very wide. Okay. I have seen people that have gone to school, and my sponsor, for example, was going to school and pursuing a PhD while drinking. He was very functional,
right?
Okay, and all of that. So there are certain things that we can do. I don't want to say mimic adulthood, but at the same time,
that's a good word, though.
But at the same time, the fact that we continue to do those self-destructive things, it's kind of it's just counterproductive. It's like,
yeah, and I think where I don't know if I really got to the question but the love, why that to me is what's been the weirdest thing to understand.
Well, this is my opinion. What Jay had told me when I first got to, you hear it in the rooms of AA. He said, "I will." This is what he told me, Rachel. Because you hear it in the rooms of AA, I'll love you till you learn to love yourself. He didn't tell me that because I'll never tell you that. He goes, I'll love you, Rob, till you learn to love another human being. Because all you ever did was love yourself. It may have been a self-destructive, self-defeating love, but you put yourself before everybody. I was on the pedestal. Then once I took myself off, through the steps and God there, and then I could see my family rightly, and then their place in my life and where I should have been in my life. And once I did that, my family just blossomed up around me. The relationships blossomed, and I could finally love someone other than myself properly.
Yeah, I just, once again, I don't know.
Page 62.
I go back to this, and once again, my parents were amazing people, still are, but I did not. Anyways, I'm going to beat that horse to death trying to find the answer because I don't know how to get to it. Because like I said, the difference between how I approach people now compared to how I approach people prior to, I'm going to say, I don't know, probably June of 2022 when I finished my steps is just night and day difference. I don't know if people see it as much on the outside as I feel it on the inside. I think there's still a lot of people that think that old Larry still comes out because that old Larry, and when I say old Larry, egotistical, arrogant, prick, that you couldn't, there's not enough names in the dictionary to describe what I was like. And I lived for me and me alone, and I didn't care about my wife. I didn't care about, it sounds horrible. I didn't care what she wanted, right? I didn't care what she wanted. That's
what I was getting at.
And when my alcoholism took off to a level to where I left all that behind. But even before my alcoholism got a complete total control of my brain, when my children were little, when, you know, I feel like I didn't have what I have now. Right. And I've lost all that opportunity, but I get to have it with my grandkids. But even last night when my grandkids were here, I still don't seize that opportunity because I'm still learning how to seize that opportunity.
Yeah, I really think that what happens when people get sober, the defenses come down.
Oh, boy, does it.
Well, especially if they're doing it, you know, we all know that there's people out there who are dry drunks. And the defenses stay up. But I think that, you know, working the program, especially going through AA and these like more group-based treatment models, one thing you really learn is how to be more vulnerable, how to give and receive feedback, and how to show up as a member of a community, and how to open yourself up to emotional intimacy and emotional vulnerability. And I think that that's often what a lot of people are lacking or craving or scared of when they're using substances. I think that we live in a very individualistic society. You know, way back at the foraging days, everybody was in tribes and
hunter-gatherers.
Right. Nowadays, we're split up from our family and we don't see our friends all the time. Our schedules conflict and it can be really complicated. And especially when you grow up in a generation of men who are told to shut off your feelings, you know, don't communicate, don't feel anything. Like what's happening is people are getting shut off from emotional intimacy. And I genuinely think that this lack of connection is what drives people to use substances a lot of times.
Because they're searching for something.
Absolutely. But I also think it goes beyond using substances. I think like most people that end up with mental health conditions are, and those of us who don't, like I think most people in society are just craving and missing that connection, and that may show up in the way of people using substances. I mean, I'm sure you know so many people who maybe started using or drinking in these social party situations, especially young men who found that
I did.
These are the ways I can be vulnerable. This is the way I'm allowed to show up and, you know, connect with others. And so and then it becomes a pattern. And so I think that that's why I really find the approach of like helping people really tap into those emotions and figure out how to have genuine emotional intimacy to be a way to help with recovery.
Is that emotional intimacy always the crying and the hugging and when you
not necessarily
define that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think of emotional intimacy as shared experience. It's like, you know, if I'm like, Rob, look at that painting over there. Isn't that cool? And he's like, oh my gosh, you're right. That's so cool. And we're both, you know, connecting over that. That's that. But if he goes, oh yeah, very cool. And he just texts on his phone, right? Ouch. That was a bid for connection. We didn't connect. And that can be the anger. That can be the sadness. That can be all these things. And if you're somebody who grew up with trauma and you were lonely a lot, you may have not had these experiences. And then when people don't get them, they crave them, but then they're scared of them and push them away.
Wow. Okay. Well, I need to sit down with you for a couple
hours. Craving community.
Yeah.
Look at what we have done.
Oh, yeah.
Look at what God has done with our group on Monday. Because, with emotional intimacy, you and I, how many men that we know over there can just look at one another, which we've done it time and again. They don't have to say nothing. He doesn't have. I know exactly what he's
saying. It's that feeling. It's that spiritual feeling.
And not only does he know what I'm feeling.
Right. We can.
He'll call me. He loves me enough to call me on my show. What's going on? No, I'm good. No, you're not.
No,
good.
you're not.
And we won't let that happen until that comes out.
Right.
It's the sameness, and it's why in AA you have those speaker meetings, and people hear other people share their stories, and they can relate. But it's also why in AA, like service is such a big part of it.
Huge.
Right.
Huge.
It's giving back to the community, giving
because
feedback.
we never gave to anybody unless I was getting something in return.
Right.
And I thought that's all I wanted. You know, once my needs were met, okay, then I'll help you. That's where. You know, for me, because page 62 sums up, in my opinion, the alcoholic and the addict perfectly. your opinion, but Paul knows what
you
it
can
says.
pull the page right out of the book. Isn't that amazing?
Dude,
that book has been well used. I love
thing's
it.
a disaster.
Selfishness and self-centeredness, that we think is the root of our troubles. That's the root. Driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, self-pity, we step on the toes of our fellows and they retaliate. Sometimes they hurt us, seemingly without provocation, but we invariably find that at some point in the past, we have made decisions based on self, which have later placed us in a position to be hurt. So we think our troubles are basically of our own making. They arise out of ourselves, and the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run riot. It's self. Me.
Yeah.
Childish.
You can't see this on the podcast, but I just got to comment on this.
Go ahead.
Rob's pages of his big book are detached, and he could pull a page completely out.
They're colorful. They're underlined. Maybe
that book
copies.
is very well
He
loved.
doesn't have to flip through
I
or
love it.
look at the book. He just pulls the page.
Well, Rachel, you know what they say. I'm going to tell you what they say. A big book that's fallen apart usually belongs to somebody who isn't.
Oh, I love that. That's great.
I got to start ripping pages out of my book, I guess. I don't know.
What I like you don't like my early sobriety. Well, you don't mind the early because I suffered.
Hold on.
Not
You
you
want to
don't
talk
like
about emotional intimacy?
Yeah.
When you talk about that, it breaks my heart.
I got
Right? Because I know there's other men going through it. I know that you had to suffer through it, right? As my dear friend. And I know there's other people that suffer through that. And I try so hard to, I got one of the things I've learned in my sobriety that I enjoy, but it also, it sucks sometimes, is I feel other people's pain.
intensely.
And intensely.
I know.
And it gets me, right? And it gets me when I see another person cut their finger, I can feel it. And I never felt that before. When I see somebody else cry, I want to cry with them. That shit it's intense, right? And it's like, why did I have to learn that part? Why did that part of my brain have to mature when I got sober, right? I love the fact that it matured for my wife and my kids and my grandkids, and it keeps maturing to be more and more closer that way. But, a year and a half ago when I'd hear Rob say that, it didn't hurt me as much as it does today. Now when I hear him say it, it just breaks me. I can't stand it.
So I'd go to this book a lot, Paul. That's why it's like that. And I don't have a photographic memory. I just
full of shit.
Kind of. Anyway, so in the middle, because I know in the middle of the night when I'm not going to call anybody at 1:00 and the night terrors would come on. This would be my defense. I could quote how it works. There's a solution that, whatever I needed at that moment just to keep my sanity and keep a gun out of my hand.
That's cognitive behavioral therapy.
And that was my battle, so that's why it looks like that. And why I sponsor the way I do. I'm very open. I mean, I welcome calls at 12, 1, 2 in the morning. We can have a 15-minute conversation and both go back to sleep instead of letting someone suffer through the night when they don't have to.
Yeah, I think the other thing to that is I never had that. Right. I never had that. So to hear somebody explain it just breaks me. Right. I mean, I think where Rob was at, I was in Maynard's when that happened. Right. I went through a very short period of time to where my moment of clarity, my moment of clarity happened here, but when that obsession left my body, I never had an ounce of what Rob went through. It was gone. And what I wanted was that sobriety and that serenity injected into my veins, and I wanted more of it. When I felt that peace come over me, I was chasing.
But you came out of the gates running. Once you got that, you got Maynard's and got to me.
I chased it.
You was chasing,
like a drug.
Chasing God and chasing. So, but I want to ask. I know Paul's opinion on that. I'm pretty sure I do. Well, what I just read about the alcoholic, the addict, selfishness and self-centeredness, self-pity, all self. The word self is on there 13 times. Wow. And the bottom is the best part. It says, most good ideas are simple as far as the God idea. This is what it says. Are simple. And the concept, it was a keystone of our new and triumphal arch, which we are building. No one else is building it for us, which we pass to freedom. And that freedom is from self, from me. What do you think of that? So when you're sitting across from a grumpy, old Marine, who's one of us, alcoholic addict, he's very selfish. What do you see? Does that description, as you find out?
Yeah, It depends. It can go both ways. There are definitely people who come in, and I think that selfishness is majorly there. I also, though, have met a lot of people who it's like they are so self-sacrificing that it's almost like drinking and using becomes the one way they give themselves permission to let loose and do something for themselves. And in those cases, it's like in therapy, what we have to work on is helping them set boundaries and find ways to have more of a balance in their lives where they're not, self-sacrificing so much that they don't feel the need to go out and get drunk and get high to, give themselves that freedom.
But that's where, as soon as I found my serenity, I didn't want anything to do. Well, that's what I was chasing with my drinking, was that peace, right? I wanted that peace, and that's what I was chasing.
Yeah, definitely. So, but I do think it comes down to, I think that addiction is very relational. I really see things through a very relational framework. And I do think that it comes down to like people needing to find that balance between being there for their community and having a community, having emotional intimacy. But having emotional intimacy also comes with knowing your own needs and being able to advocate for your own needs in a way that's healthy. But what we see sometimes is people don't know how to advocate for their needs in a healthy way. And so they do it in this maladaptive way, which is drugs and alcohol.
This is funny. In healthcare, oftentimes, when asked, what do we do in this situation? Sometimes it's a case-by-case basis. It's kind of like when you talk to an attorney about something and their answer, it depends.
In psychology, it's always it depends.
Yeah. But here's the thing. What you've been talking about got me thinking, is it you talk about confronting an alcoholic's mindset and their selfishness. There are times when you've got to peel back a lot of layers of that onion before they're even willing to hear that.
Right.
And I distinctly recall early on that when we got to this part, when my brain finally cracked open and I was willing to do the third, and consider the fourth step, you gave me the answer. My problem is selfish self-centeredness.
Right.
So what else do I need to know? What else? And it's like, I'm done.
Right.
Yeah.
You giving me the answer to the test.
Yeah.
So I don't have to study anymore. And I found that to be totally untrue.
Is depression hereditary?
I believe it can be.
Yeah.
Is it a learned behavior? Not learned behavior, but
it's like I said, it's both chemical and it's nature and nurture.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah. I mean,
when you see how your parents cope with something, that's kind of how you
totally
with anger or with.
Totally. Yeah, but you also can get depression having like Parkinson's or multiple sclerosis. So
what do we do for the chemical part of that? Could it be chemically induced?
Can be treated with medication.
Right. But even like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and other kinds of therapy can help, even if it is like the more chemical.
Have you done more research? Because I brought up the psilocybin and what was the other one that I brought up? Psilocybin. Have you done any more research on that?
I've been doing research myself.
You idiot. Have you done much of that? The research on that?
Treating
with hallucinogens?
I haven't treated anybody with hallucinogens because it's not legal to do so yet. But my dissertation was on that. So I think I already kind of told you guys about
you did talk about it a little bit.
So not really anything new.
What about in your line, Paul? You seen any of that coming in?
Ketamine for depression, I think is the big one right now. That it is legal. I think it's still is it still an off-label use for suicidality? I think it can be used for depression, but the studies show that it is exceedingly helpful.
Yeah,
and I've actually listened to a patient. I was at a NAMI conference a couple of years ago, and there was an open session. There was a psychiatrist that was talking to the group and taking questions. And one of the audience had said, he had been taking ketamine for a while. The thing with ketamine is it's not intended for long-term use. Mm-hmm. And so when somebody has a very chronic, and this gentleman apparently had very chronic depression, like psychotic depression. I mean, it got so bad that he would become psychotic, and he was asking about it, and whatever. But the point being is, there are medications. You really have to be working with a physician or psychiatrist that really knows what they're doing,
because the dosage is key, as important as.
Yeah.
And some of them, the side effects on the one, and for the life of me, I can't remember it. I talked about it. It was on Joe Rogan, blah, blah, blah. But some of them have some serious side effects. Like the one I was talking about has, you have to be, ibogaine. Thank you. Ibogaine is the one that has a serious heart condition that comes along with it.
With ketamine, it's kidneys.
Is it?
Everything's got a side effect, you generally. Yeah. Hey, but I am trying, by the way, for the listeners at home, earlier in the podcast when I interrupted Larry 3 times, I did that shit on purpose. But however, I am trying something for cognitive, as well as for helpful gut health. I don't know if I can talk about it. You ever heard of methylene blue?
You know what? I've been seeing a lot of it. Talked about.
For a couple weeks now.
You're kind of turning blue. I was going to tell you.
Yeah, hey, great. So, but from what I have noticed for me, when if I'm going to go sit down with my boss, and we got a meeting on because we got a few big jobs coming up. When I really need clarity,
it works.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I mean, have you researched? Do you know what it is and what effects it could have? Side effects.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you take any before the podcast?
Yes.
You should have.
That's why my questions are so much better than yours. Clear.
So I want to move on to another question that I kind of been pondering around. Will chemical recovery ever be possible?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
It says, science hasn't.
In our
science
book,
may one day
right.
accomplish this, but
yeah.
You're talking about turning the pickle back into a cucumber.
Right.
What do you mean by chemical recovery?
So you see a lot of advertisement. I do, right? Because I spend a lot of time on social media for the podcast and and kind of promoting. So I watch a lot of. So what do they call it when your algorithms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2. I have my recovery unfiltered one, and then I have my other one that my algorithm's completely different. But on my recovery,
I didn't say nothing. I was about to say because if it was just us and Paul, I was going to say it. But
you ain't far from it. I can just tell you that. But the algorithm is completely different. So I get a lot of the ones that are saying, that they have pills that you can take, and the what are they when they put you under the psychosis or the hypnosis and that kind of stuff for the chemical, for the recovery. And I'm just in my
Rachel,
mind. I would
basically what he's asking is will they be able to come up with a pill to take a alcoholic and make him a normal drinker again, or take an addict? Here's a pill, take this, and you are,
Let's not even say a normal, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say to take, they don't even,
Yeah.
Like for me, Rob and I, we talk about this all the time. If we could spray somebody with some kind of a perfume or something and take that obsession away from them, well, have they figured out in our minds what creates that obsession to where we have to continue?
Yeah, yes, and I've got it right here.
The alcohol gene or the drug.
The genomic studies, which is fascinating, by the way. 50 to 60%, it's been determined can be hereditary. There are alcohol metabolism genes that they have identified. Some help and some hinder, and the ones that hinder. I mean, you stop and think about this. The gene itself, until they learn how to alter your genetic code, no, it's not going to happen. Is there a day coming when that's possible? Maybe.
Well, I mean, I'm not an expert in epigenetics, but if you have a parent who's like an alcoholic, they can actually pass down, their genes can change and pass down to their child.
Okay.
So even if their parent didn't have genes, like our genes are shaped by our environment.
Right.
So, but in terms of getting people to drink normally, I mean, at this point, I don't know. Some people might argue that they've had that experience with psychedelics. Some people, I know people who use, what is it, like the naloxone or no, gosh, what am I thinking of? The one that makes you sick when you drink?
Antabuse.
Antabuse. Yes. Antabuse.
But is that really a cure?
No.
That's just a deterrent, which some people drink anyway.
But I think then that gets into the question of like, what does it mean to be cured from
Well, soundness. Well, as far as the Big Book is concerned, it says when we're restored to sanity, soundness of mind, relieved of the obsession to drink. That's what a spiritual awakening is. That's the definition. Restored to sanity, soundness of mind, relieved of the obsession to drink. And for an alcoholic, they know what that is what's called being recovered.
I want to ask Paul this question: having all the education you have, could you walk away from AA and never drink again and never have? With your education, being as educated as you are, could you just say, you know what?
Self-knowledge.
I'm educated enough now. I don't need AA anymore.
Could I?
Yeah.
Yes.
You think so?
I know so. I've seen people walk away from. I have always maintained that Alcoholics Anonymous is not the only way to stay sober.
Okay, good.
There are a lot of people out there that do that, but the bottom line is, if you don't replace it with something,
right?
A lot of people use, they use, and how successful that is. I don't know the independent variables that go into how you can walk away and do it. I don't ever want to take the chance.
Right.
For me, this works extremely well, and
you're not going to experiment.
I never want to take the chance, because one of the things that I know is that even if I get away, I mean, I get really busy. I travel sometimes, and it's not always possible for me to go to meetings. Right. But if I go through a week without making at least 1 or 2 meetings,
right.
This has happened. My thinking,
right,
that's where I'm going.
starts reversing. I this sounds trite. The ISM in alcoholism, incredibly short memory. I have that. Okay, and there's no science to back that up. But what I'm saying is that this has taught me a way of life, and is that continual reinforcement that I get through my AA family is what I feel like I need.
Right. Yeah, and
but I think you need to reframe your question.
Well, go, Doctor.
Paul, could you
Dr.
walk away
Rob.
from AA with all your education and not drink again? Yeah, drinking wasn't our problem anyway. Now, Paul, could you step away from? Do you believe you could step away from AA for the rest of your life and still have the emotional, spiritual, and mental sobriety and peace that you get from it?
Not without replacing it with therapy sessions as often as I'm going to meetings.
Right.
And I'll point this out too, because even professionals, mental health professionals, they tell you when you're going to school, you need to get in therapy yourself because of the drain, the psychological drain that it has working with, especially with veterans. If you're not doing something to maintain your own mental health, you could get in trouble.
Rachel, what do you think, Dr. Berry? Are you gonna as you start getting deeper down the rabbit hole, you got to get some therapy on the side?
Yeah, one of the nice things about working for the VA is as employees, we have access to, what's it called? The name isn't important, but basically we have access to a certain amount of sessions.
Okay.
That
employee assistance.
Yeah. Exactly.
Have you started any?
No, I haven't yet.
You haven't taken your own advice?
No.
I just went through because we have the same thing with a company called Lyra.
Okay.
The access is amazing. I mean, I got in touch with them. They had me lined up. I had an appointment scheduled within a few days. And I approached them because I was going through some things at work and I was getting very overwhelmed. And it was taking its toll on my mental health to the point where, like you, Larry, I didn't feel like getting out of bed. I was like,
right.
I do too much already. I'm not going to do anything today. I'm not going to do anything tomorrow. I'm not even going to open my emails.
Right.
That is a very dangerous place.
It's dangerous.
To go. And I got in touch with a therapist, and I got that 10 free sessions.
Yeah.
It helped. It pulled me up and out of it. I mean, she gave me things to work on that otherwise I would not have thought about myself.
Yeah.
I know that I've started putting back into place, I was sober, 2.5 years when I started talking about going back and getting on. I've gotten back on the Wellbutrin. I went over the top on it because I went over to the other side. I went to 300 and it literally numbed me out to where I couldn't even, I would have had to slice my arm off to feel anything.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, it was bad, right? I mean, I was just numb and I hated it, and I backed back off we're back on 150. But my point is, I started building stuff back up because I was seeing a therapist and taking Wellbutrin and doing all that stuff while I was drinking, and it wasn't doing a damn thing for me.
Imagine that.
And now I know I have recognized that my antidepressant is absolutely doing its job. when I can sit across from my wife and enjoy a good laugh between the two of us over something that we've looked at, I know that it's working, because I couldn't have done that prior to this. And now,
but you had to get clear, get the alcohol, and get
yes, I had to
get some real help.
I had to start slipping back into that rabbit hole of a depression, right? To where before I got sober, I didn't recognize it. I just went sliding down that slippery slope, and I went down in there and I started medicating with alcohol, to where this time I recognized it. I didn't like the direction I was going. I didn't like the direction I was feeling. And I'm like, nope, I got to get help. Right. And I did. But now I think I need to go and I need to actually start seeing somebody.
Beautiful. But another great thing, when we sit, Rachel,
Besides Rob.
Yeah. When all the times when we would sit in front of our doctor,
right,
we weren't honest.
Nope.
So how could we get the help that we needed? That's what I love about AA.
Yeah.
Right.
Rigorous honesty.
If any of my patients are listening,
rigorous honesty starts from it's an inside job.
Right.
It's an inside job.
Once
we're honest with ourselves and we need that, then you're honest like you are now.
Right.
They can give us the help that we need.
Right.
And we can help find it.
And therapy is like, I mean, if you're not being honest in there, then you're not actually 100%. Doing the work. They can't.
I feel bad for the therapist that tried to help me. Right. I do. I mean, I sat across from him with probably a 12-pack in me, saying, "No, I haven't had anything to drink today," and trying to work through, trying to help me, right. And I had no desire for his help.
Right, and
none.
We don't know as therapists.
Well, that's where Paul comes in. He's been on both sides of that. You ain't got bullshit me, but I've been there.
And it's like, either I'm going to sit here and try and figure out if you're lying to me and, make you feel backed into a corner, or I'm just going to believe what you're giving me. And if I just believe what you're giving me and therapy doesn't work, then that's on you, you know?
But that's how I sponsor. Yeah. I have 4 rules.
Yeah.
Imagine that. My dad had 4 rules and I got 4 rules. Anyway. They're different, but don't lie to me and I don't lie to you. I'm not even going to take them at face value, because if they're lying on their step work, if they're lying to me, they're only hurting themselves.
Right.
I'm going to go home sober.
Right.
That's on you.
Huh. So I'm going to go down another one. We didn't have a lot of, I talked to Rob yesterday. I'm like, dude, we got to get some topics together, because I didn't get it from the listeners like I thought I did, but you guys keep bringing up stuff for me.
Before we leave, Rachel, if you have any questions for Paul, because this is a resource here.
Right.
That would be awesome.
The other one is if our listeners or us, let's just say my wife, what are some of the good signs? I mean, we've all obviously talked about some of them, but if I'm living with a person, what is the first signs of depression that they need to be looking for? Are those first signs? Yes, our children. Yes, great one. That we need to be looking for ahead of it, because I do know corrective behavior before it goes off the rails, right? Because if you look at, these enormous ships that have those little bitty rudders on the back, right? Our kids and our families, our lives are those huge ships, and we have small rudders. And once we get deep into something, it's hard to get us to turn back around, right? But so if we can get in front of a behavior, what are the initial signs prior to them not wanting to get out of bed, prior to them not wanting to be in functioning situations, is there early signs of depression, that kind of stuff that they can be looking for?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to look different for everyone. And I don't work with children, so I don't know. But, what I hear a lot from my patients, we always ask people, like, what are your warning signs? How will we know if things are going off track? Typically, people tend to say isolation, like when they start isolating.
That's 100% me.
Yeah, when they start isolating, when they stop doing things that they once enjoyed doing, more like negative self-talk, those kinds of things. But I also know plenty of people where it might be the opposite, like they just start spiraling. They start trying to do all these fun things.
They overcompensate.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's different for everyone, but I would definitely say like the more traditional characteristic is like that isolation, that lack of engagement.
Changes. I've got 7 kids.
Okay.
But you're right. But go ahead.
Some of them do have inherited, the genes, I guess, for both alcoholism and depression, and changes in behavior. Just changes in behavior. You know your own kid.
Yes.
You know them well. And when you start sensing, and sometimes it's just a gut feeling, you start sensing that something's going wrong.
Right.
And the important thing is figuring out a way to either get them to sit down and talk to you or talk to somebody else.
Talk to somebody.
And there are, especially with adolescents, there are a lot of good resources today. Apps and things that they can go on. They can talk to peers. There's just a lot of great space for them to go. And the other thing I would
don't let them
out,
talk to ChatGPT.
No, but the other thing I want to point out is that I did work with adolescents for about 4 years, and one of the things I'll tell you is that there's a huge difference between someone, a kid, because oftentimes it's the family, it's not the kid.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't always need to be hospitalized. They probably need respite care. They need to be in a safe environment. But putting them in a psychiatric facility because it is absolutely not uncommon for an adolescent to say, I'm going to commit suicide, or I can't tell you how many times my kids are, so-and-so isn't responding to my text, and the last thing they said was,
right.
And it's just it's attention seeking,
right?
A lot of it,
right.
Trying to tease that out. I mean, because you never want to err on the side. I mean, you never want to just underreact to something like that. You want to find out. But if it's your own kid, changes in behavior, them getting closed off, and certainly the isolation.
Right.
My boys, they wanted to stay in their rooms. They wanted the room absolutely dark. They didn't want to do anything but play video games. Was that a sign? Not necessarily. That's what teenagers do.
Right.
It's when they don't ever come out of their room, and they don't, and they don't socialize, or and you can tell that their attitude is changing. They're getting more irritable, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, and thinking about just the diagnostic criteria of depression, sleeping a lot or staying up super late, gaining or losing a lot of weight, eating more, eating less.
I know for me, when I get deep, I want the lights off, the curtains. I want my headphones on with extremely loud, hard music. That's the only thing that'll calm me. It's literally the only thing that will calm me back down and get me back in.
And to your point, Larry, about being
spot.
preemptive, as a parent, especially for me, Paul, Gary Z.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when I was maybe 1 year, the big meeting in Oakdale, Friday night meeting, and I could swear short, even shorter than me. You got that. However, but I could swear, Paul, he was looking right at me, and he goes, early sobriety game. You know the ones that look at you when you're sharing, Rachel. He says, if you don't want your kids to grow up to be like you, quit being like you. And for me, it hit me like
so easy, but
what that did to me, because I didn't when I got to AA, I didn't know how to be a husband. I was one, didn't know how to be a good father. I was a father. And so I would listen and look to the men, and Jim F, who's moved away, the way he would adore his wife, and it really helped me to. And we were as Paul knows, we're spiritual nemesis. That's what Jim would call me.
He's the one.
But when Gary said that to me, it meant this is more than just not drinking, Rob. I mean, it's going to be easier to raise strong men than it is easier to raise strong children than it is to fix broken men. Invest in my kids, and my kids AA me now. And I've shared, that's
funny.
I was having to talk with my wife in the kitchen. My daughter comes from the bathroom in a towel. She's in the shower, going into her room. She stops in the hallway. This is like a month ago. Dad, yeah, baby. She's 23. He goes, what was your part? And then walks in the room. And I was like, mother. But she was right. I wasn't looking at my part. I was looking at everything else. And once I focused on mine, then the problem resolved. And I love that. I love that. And she uses that with her friends because I've brought this into the home.
She's grown up with it.
Yeah.
I mean, she was 10 or 11 when you brought that book into the room.
She was 8.
Brought that book into the house, right? I mean, she doesn't know any different. And your son absolutely doesn't know any difference. No. And it's
easier to raise strong
children. And if you got off that damn soapbox inside the house and stopped yelling and preaching at them inside the house, then poor kids, talk about depression. Yeah. Woo. Anyways, Paul, you got any advice for Rachel and her new career?
Enjoy. Take care of yourself. Really take care of yourself, because it can take its toll. I mean, it takes special people to work in behavioral health and mental health, and you certainly sound like you've got what it takes to do it. I mean,
Thank you.
The fact that you enjoy what you're doing is, I absolutely love what I do.
Yeah.
And you have to have that. This is not a job to collect a paycheck. This is a vocation.
Yeah.
And a vocation is something you do because that's where your heart is.
Yeah.
Is there less and less people coming into this field?
No, not really.
No, not really. Huh.
Here's the thing. People talk about the shortage of providers.
Right.
We don't have a shortage of providers. We have a shortage of providers that won't work for anything other than cash.
Right.
There's plenty of providers out there that you can pay out of pocket, and you can find services. The networks of providers that take insurance and things like that, and even the ones that work for county or government agencies. I don't know. I mean, yeah, there's probably a shortage there.
We all got student loans to pay off.
Good grief, those poor things. You got 20 years to pay that off.
Yeah. Yep. I start in a few months.
Yeah. You got any questions for Paul you want to bring up?
I guess just whatever advice, but you gave me some. So yeah.
Well, and get a therapist. Get your own.
Yes.
Do you plan on staying with the VA for a while?
That's the hope. I really, really love working for the VA. I'm really excited about the position that I'm entering.
When we talked to you earlier, you weren't in the hospital at the VA. You were working in, or did I mistake that? Because I asked you if you felt the impact of Trump coming into the office and any kind of cutbacks, or if you saw any difference in it.
Or any influx of money coming in. Is the VA better? No.
Our health system's in danger right now.
It's real bad.
Yeah.
I actually, so I got hired. So I was an intern for the last year.
Yeah.
I got hired for my position in October.
Maybe that's what
they were basically like, once you graduate, you'll move over. Brand new position. It's a specially funded position that they advocated for to serve unhoused veterans.
Okay.
They've never had a psychologist in this position before, so it's brand new. I guess 2 days after the election, I got an email saying, sorry, your job's been cut.
Okay.
You're out.
That's what we talked about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but luckily it was sorted out. Thank goodness that this all happened. I had all this time before graduation to get things sorted out. So position's back on. I start.
Nice.
I start in a week.
So what is the position? What will you be doing?
So I'll be a staff psychologist within the larger VA, but I'll specifically be working in the HUD-VASH program, which is like the housing, urban development for veterans program, where they're working on getting veterans housed, getting them employment, getting them healthcare, that kind of thing. And yeah, they've never had a psychologist on the team before, so I'll be the one.
Why? I mean, who knows?
Right.
Still.
It's true.
They've been waiting for Rachel.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, and not a lot of psychologists work with this population. In preparing for the population, I've been doing a lot of research, and there's not a lot out there on this population. I mean, I worked previously at a domiciliary, so it's for veterans who either have an addictive disorder or are without housing. And they have those programs across the VAs, but they don't have like outpatient programs where these folks can get more therapy and group work and help them maintain their housing when they're actually in it from like a more psychological and therapeutic perspective. So I'm going to be doing a lot of assessments and cognitive assessments, especially in Reno. We have
So you're bringing them off the street.
Yeah. And supporting them in maintaining their subsidized housing, basically working with folks in transitional living, helping them transition from being on the streets to being in independent living. We have a large like geriatric population in Reno, so I'll be doing a lot of cognitive evaluations with some of the older folks who may be losing some cognitive decline or losing some cognitive skill and that kind of thing.
Geriatric like Rob?
Yeah. Just like that.
So you must be a lot of Vietnam vets.
Yeah. I feel like I saw more Vietnam vets in Palo Alto, to be honest. But there's a few.
I've got 3 that because I was Navy, so I was on a ship during the Gulf War, safe, 100% safe. But some of the men that I sponsor, 1 Army, 2 Marines, same war, but a lot of, they still have a lot of PTSD. There's a lot, one of the, I'm going to say his name obviously, but my little short friend, she's even shorter than me again. One of his things on his step work was he never want to kill anybody again. He didn't want to have to kill another human being. That's something we had to work through. So it's not just, there's PTSD with all the, but yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Crazy stuff.
So not only do they have the alcohol, but they have the alcohol and the drug addiction, they're also going to have, what servicemen or what soldiers have, what they come home with, or they don't come home with, or they leave there. And they
well, and imagine trying to get sober while you're living on the street. There's people out there who are like, I'm trying not to get attacked in the middle of the night. So the reason I'm taking meth is so I don't fall asleep and get attacked. And it's like, wow, that's
what a different motivation than when we did it. And then we crossed that invisible line. But some people try to, have that chemical imbalance, and who are, like Paul talked about, trying to self-medicate, trying to get that balance. And
I think it was, Paul, we asked you, and I don't know, maybe it was this come up, but how many people living on the street are really suffering from mental health, and how some of them are just happy to be there?
This is interesting because estimates 30% or so.
Right.
I absolutely don't believe that. And I'll give you a case example. There's a program up in Spokane, Washington, and it's a partnership between Providence Health, the Catholic Social Services in that area, and what they have developed is absolutely amazing. They have an 85% retention rate bringing people in off the street.
Wow!
Which is, again,
that's amazing. Incredible.
Amazing. And
what are they doing right, Paul?
They're doing it right from the beginning. They're starting with a low barrier shelter.
Okay.
They bring them in. They introduce them. They get, they start working with them. They don't ask anything. They provide them a place to live. They give them their own apartment. And it's pretty nice.
And they're able to take care of themselves.
They have they have security. They have counseling, all the wraparound services that you absolutely need. They provide them with. And they also have the ability to step them up to higher levels of housing. And the great thing about it is these guys, they don't have to pay anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this is ingenious the way that they work this. They find people with a lot of money that want to get a huge tax write-off by investing, and that's how they pay for this.
Wow.
Now, they do use HUD money and some government money to help finance these things, but it's a very successful program. One of the things because I started asking the director a bunch of questions, and I said, so through your experience, how many of these people are coming through your doors? More like 60 to 70%
of mental health issues.
Yeah, and I think
and substance use disorder.
Well, and I do think it's important to consider that all of us are like, I don't know, a big crisis away from being
for
homeless,
sure.
you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And so
it's one of my biggest fears.
Yeah. And like in Reno, like I said, so many are geriatric. It's a lot of folks whose like their wife died and they couldn't take care of themselves, or that they don't know how to manage the house on their own because somebody else has done it all their life, things like that. And so there are a lot of folks living on the streets who maybe didn't start out with substance use problems or didn't start out with mental health challenges, but inevitably, like being on the street, kind of going back to that emotional intimacy piece we were talking about, you become socially excluded. People look at you funny.
Or they don't make eye contact.
They don't make eye contact. We kind of...
They're scared of them.
Often the way that folks who are unhoused are treated produces things like paranoia and anger and fear. And they get so not used to connecting with other humans that then we see that kind of push-pull dynamic of, I'm scared of you, but I'm also craving intimacy, and maybe now I'm going to start using substances to get that fix of
that makes
intimacy.
Total sense.
So
that's
just
sense.
my spiel, is that all of these things come down to, as humans, we all need to connect more.
Yeah,
it's a shame what we've allowed to happen to veterans that serve our country. Go put their life on the line. And because they likely joined when they were out of high school or something like that, the only trade that they have really cultivated is not something they can bring back into society a lot of times.
The shit that we celebrate in this country, but yet we can't fix that is disgusting.
No, we can.
We won't.
There was enough finances to do it.
Yes, we just won't.
To help the ones that want help, the ones because there's a lot of them that will take, and there's some out there who are not just victims, they are victimizers. And there's that part of it.
Right.
But there's enough resources to help the ones who want help.
For sure. And it's just disgusting.
And that's where Dr. Rachel is going to come in and get because like we come into, like Paul talks about, the low-level housing, get them properly diagnosed.
Right.
Is this mental health? Is this just drug addiction? That goes a long way, am I correct? And getting them in the right avenues of help.
Yeah. The thing that's tricky is it's like,
nothing's cookie cutter, I'm sure.
Well, the thing that's tricky is, substance use, mental health, but a lot of these things are also societal and systemic. And that's where, part of, I think, helping people recover, in my opinion, is also advocating for like greater social conditions that support people maintaining sobriety and not being pushed into situations where they find that substance use is, their only option. And I think AA does a great job with the service piece and like how important it is for all of us to be of service to each other. Do you get
AA, H&I coming in to the VA?
Would you H&I?
H&I, it's hospitals and institutions. It is a group off of off AA, because I do a lot of H&I. I go into the jails, I go in the hospitals, I go into some institutions, and I talk to the groups, right, and share with them our stories. You don't have that coming into your VA?
They may, if they have. I've never been part of that piece of it. It's very possible that, because like the programs that I've worked for, specifically the addiction programs, they have so many different branches and arms. My therapy is just like one little piece, so it's highly possible.
I love going into the hospitals and the institutions.
Because we can leave.
Yeah.
Go to the jails. I can
leave this time. That, and they're all secluded and locked in there, and they can't run away from.
They can't run away from Larry, and he gets to.
Yeah.
You have to listen.
Anyways, thank you, Paul. I appreciate you coming back. Don't leave anything. Anybody want to bring anything else up?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
thank you,
I really do want to do this again in a couple months.
Yeah.
I do like this panel. I love the fact that Rachel's a doctor and we have a professional. I love the fact. Hey, you know what? I'm tired of saying that. Paul, are you an actual RN?
I'm a clinical nurse specialist in psych mental health. So I'm an advanced practice nurse.
Okay. So I love having the two professionals here. Something's got to balance me and this dummy out.
But I think what's going to be great is as Rachel gets that life and work experience,
right?
She'll come back with more to share with us. But
I don't know, man. You're pretty mature on your conversations now.
No. But
they got to put in a lot of hours to get to where they're going. When I started off to go to school, I was going in that direction. I wanted to become an MSW first, and then a PhD psychologist. Right. And when I found out how many years it took, I was like,
how long you been going to school?
Well, I didn't take any breaks. So since kindergarten, what is that? 22 years.
You went all the way back to there.
My PhD.
She declared her major.
Yeah, my PhD was 5 years, and then my bachelor's was 4. But I decided I wanted to be a psychologist. I think I mentioned before when I was like 12. So in high school, I started doing internships.
That still baffles me that you decided to do that at 12 years old.
And you still got a lot of hours. Do you still have hours you gotta complete?
I do. Yeah. I think in Nevada, it's 1,700. So
so once you do that, what do we complete for?
My licensure.
Okay.
So I have the degree. But then you have to get
so that means so they're saying, okay, you have the knowledge, so here's the degree. Now you've got to go get.
She can practice, but she's considered an associate or something like that.
Yeah, so I have to practice under somebody else's license. So I have a clinical supervisor who basically we meet once a week to talk about what I'm doing and make sure that I'm doing a good job, and then once I complete that license, then I could go out and practice independently under my own, Nevada, and I could supervise.
It's California. Do you know how many hours California requires?
I don't.
I actually think I looked it up the other day. Nevada might require more, which is kind of shocked me. But California requires you to do some extra coursework that I think Nevada doesn't. But Nevada also requires you to take, this is like nerdy psychology stuff, but you have to take the EPPP, which is like your final licensing test. And Nevada decided to adopt a part 2. So extra studying.
Well, move your ass. Is your husband over there? Or is
he's in Nevada, yeah.
He is in Nevada.
So, but once you get that, can you go to any state, or do you have to, is there a certain...
No. But they're starting to do certain things specifically in rural states where the need is higher, where you can kind of get... Like, I guess the best way I can put it is cross-licensed. Yeah. So if you're like registered for the certain thing, you can practice under state lines. But the reason is every state has different laws and how to practice. Like in California, it's a 5150 if somebody's in crisis, whereas in Nevada, it's called an L2K, and they have different standards for each. So you have to be apt to each state's different laws to make sure you're practicing ethically.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helped anybody today, but it sure the hell helped me.
This was good.
Yeah.
I need this every Sunday at 1:00. I need this therapy group.
Oh, I love it.
Not going to get it. Thank you so very much. If you want to reach out to us, it's recoveryunfilteredpodcast@gmail.com. You know, let me talk about this real fast. Probably 90% of the people just stopped listening because I went to that, but we got a new logo, right? I got a new social media girl that's going to start working on it. And it both came out of last week's podcast with Sean and Mary. And I'm so excited that both those stepped up. Sean is a web designer, and he did our new logo, and he's got a ton more stuff he's working on. So we got some exciting stuff coming up with Sean and Mary. And they once they were done with the podcast, they got excited about it. Sean reached out with the new logo. I didn't even ask for it. He just sent it to me in a text. I'm like, holy shit, this is badass. And then I said something about a website and social media, and he goes, Mary can do all that for you. So yeah,
they just didn't want to bring it up. She wanted to bring it up here and said, but felt kind of awkward. You said
no. I didn't even, and like
because
I said,
you said it on the podcast.
I did.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I didn't.
And she was going to say something, but
I didn't even realize I said it. But the logos came out of nowhere.
Or you said it while we were sitting here with her.
But I didn't say anything about the logos.
No, you said something to him about the logos. You got to.
I did during the podcast?
After the podcast. We were just sitting here talking.
Oh, you know what? I did. Sorry. I did beg. A little beg.
But you brought it up.
All right. It's recoveryunfilteredpodcast@gmail.com. Recovery Unfiltered Pocket. God bless it.
Hey, play that. That's the best one.
Thank you for joining us today.
We hope you learned something today that will help you.
That's my Madeline. If you did not, come back next week and we'll try again.
If you like what we heard, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you heard, kiss my... You can't say that, can you? Anyway, if you don't like what you heard, go ahead and tell us that too. We'll see what we can improve. We probably won't change nothing, but do it anyway.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Come back next week and hopefully something will be different and something will sink in.
This has been Recovery Unfiltered.